Previously on agentpalmer.com, Palmer's trek continues with Star Trek First Contact, revisiting the golden age of independent film. And no, this isn't a repeat. This is the Palmer Files episode 125 with the return of Movie Minute Rob. He's here to complete the story of his emigration to Israel and to discuss compulsory military service, settling down, starting a prolific blog, starting a podcast, the Movies by Minute podcast evolution, and much, much more. Are you ready? Let's do the show. Hello and welcome to the Palmer Files. I'm your host, Jason Stershik, also known as Agent Palmer, and on this 125th episode is Movie Minute Rob. He's back to continue the story of his emigration, and then we talk about movies, blogging, podcasting, and the impact that what we put out into the world can have on the world and us. We also touch on some spirituality, learning about ourselves through our history, the concept of the Movie by Minute podcast and how it relates to the Talmud, and much, much more. But before we get there, remember that if you want to discuss the episode as you listen or afterwards, you can find all related ways to contact my guest, Movie Minute Rob, and myself in the show notes. Rob's prolific work can be found online at movierob.wordpress.com. Don't forget you can see all of my writings and rantings on agentpalmer.com, and of course, email can be sent to thepalmerfiles@gmail.com. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so Rob, where we left off, you're in the old city for your third time. You're in Israel for your third time.
Correct.
And you're in the old city. I want to ask because we were there at different times. You're
right,
in the old.
This is 92. This is August. The end of August. I came back to Israel for that third time. I came to Israel on August 27th, 1992.
So were you spending as much, the loaded question, were you spending as much time in like outside of the old city as you were inside?
No, I was spending more time in.
Okay.
Spending much more time in because again, I'm in a program where it's a study program. This isn't a tourist program.
Okay. No, I get that, but
that we're sitting and we're studying all day.
Okay. And obviously, the Kotel is there, the
yes.
Wailing Wall, whatever. And
I actually, from the first day that I got there, a friend of mine suggested that I go to him to for people who are unfamiliar. So Jews pray 3 times a day. You pray. You have the morning prayer, the afternoon prayer, and the evening prayer, right? So, a friend of mine suggested that he told me he was going to the morning prayer and he's going to go to the Kotel.
Okay.
But what's the catch? The catch is that the prayer starts about 15 minutes before dawn.
Okay.
And you get to a certain point in the prayer, like the most important part of the prayer, you get there exactly at sunrise.
Okay.
That's the idea of it. So I went that first day with him. And this was, I remember very clearly, the first time I went there, it was before we had, we were still on daylight savings time. So sunrise was like at 5 o'clock in the morning or something like that. So we went really, really early to start this prayer. And it turns out that for the entire year that I was there, I went just about every single morning, 7 days a week. Wow. to do that same prayer. This friend of mine who told me, who suggested that we go, he lasted like 2 days.
Okay. All right. So the program ends.
No, well,
I mean,
while the program is going on.
Yep.
So obviously within a week or two, I am so entrenched in this country and in everything that's going on. I have already decided in my mind that I'm staying. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because I said I know too many people that went back to the States and said, "Oh,
And
I'm going to
stayed.
eventually come back,"
And
they
they
go
just
back,
stayed.
and life gets in the way.
I get you.
You go to study in
Now,
university,
you're
and then you're looking for a job,
18,
and then you
19
get
when you make
married.
this decision?
I'm 18.
18. Okay, so you're 18.
18 and a half.
But it's only, I mean, I say only, but still, it's only your third time in the country. Before we go further, have you been abroad other places, or has it just been America and Israel at this point?
Well, do Canada and Mexico?
I mean, we can count Canada, but so it's North America and Israel. Like,
yes,
okay.
North America and Israel.
Okay. And still, it's. You're like, I'm done. I found my home. I found my place.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, I just felt really, really comfortable. Now, in Israel, there is a mandatory draft for people living here, for citizens that you join the army when you're 18.
Yep.
So I also realized that making the decision that I want to stay means that
at that time. Yeah, I mean, it's not. It
doesn't. It doesn't even matter. I mean, if you decide to stay a few years later, there's still whenever you decide that you want to become a citizen. So then they decide, how does it work with the army? But most people, when they decide that they want to live here, are understand the idea of the compulsory service in the army.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you're in your prime though. Like you're going in with everybody else.
Yeah. A little bit later, but more or less.
Okay.
Slightly later. But so I said, okay, I'm going to finish this program, finish the year of studying, and then I'm joining the army. I'm going in. And now one of the things that they have is that the program that I was a part of, so there are Israelis that are part of this program also. And the Israelis that are part of the program, they're in a national program where what they do is they study for a few years, and then in the middle they also do army service.
Okay.
Because again, the studying that that I'm talking about here is Judaic studies. It's studying Talmud and the Bible and all the Jewish subjects.
Yes.
So it's something that Israelis have the option, if you are religious and are interested, if you're interested in studying and you don't want to go to the army for 3 straight years, so you can do this other program, which is a 5-year program where half of the time you're in the army and half of the time you're studying.
Okay.
In order to, because there's the understanding that, it is important to study also.
Yes.
And the studies are Judaic studies. It's not secular studies, from that perspective.
Okay.
So the idea is that I can now join the army and go with the Israelis that are in the program with me.
Okay.
And be with them.
So you now have, I mean, when you first went back this third time, you didn't know anybody. Now you're not only studying with these people, but you're training with these people too? Well,
not yet, but I know that I'm going to be going to the army with some of them.
Okay.
Which of them I don't know yet. That's something, because it depends. When everyone starts their service, you're sent to different units and things like that. In general, it's assumed that I'm going to be with some of them.
Okay.
Okay. Now, one of the biggest hurdles, obviously, in this whole story is my parents.
I was gonna get, that was literally where I was going. I was like, wait, hold on. I mean, you make this decision, that's fine. I don't know that I made any declarations like that at 18, but like, you do have to. So is there a call? Like, there's a call?
No, there isn't a call. My parents came to visit me in November.
Okay.
Remember, I started the end of August. We came to visit in November. And, during the week that they were here, I mentioned it to them. I said, look, I made the decision that I want to stay here. And I'm still shocked to this day at their reaction. They're like, okay, you're 18. If this is what you want to do, we'll support you.
Okay.
We'll support you in your decision, not financially, but we'll,
Okay.
you know,
Yep.
they're like, okay, you if this is what you want to do and you're sure of it, then no problem. Again, it might have to do with the fact that I'm the youngest of seven in a blended family. So, maybe they said, okay, we've seen so much already. At this point, you let your kids do whatever you feel that they want to do.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
That's all right. So were you at all nervous in telling them or that you had made the decision?
I was nervous because I didn't know how they were going to react completely, and I didn't know if I'm going to have to argue with them about it.
Okay.
Because this is I had made this decision, so
But
it was,
yeah, I mean, you're going in mind made up, so
correct.
You're nervous about like, do I have to fight for this?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And
all
thankfully, I didn't have to fight for it. Which again was something that shocked me because, as I said, I didn't grow up in a family where we talked about these type of issues and that it's important. It's important to live in Israel. It's important to defend the state of Israel. All these things. No.
Okay.
But
yeah. All right. So, but so I
maybe it was just under the surface. I don't know.
So you make this decision. Obviously, emigrating is a different scenario, and there are. I mean, we've kind of glossed over it a bit. There are some religious implications for a Jew to emigrate to Israel. But you do this. Is this the end of your back and forth then?
It's the end of,
as far as living,
of living. Yes, I have never lived in America since I guess August 26th, 1992.
Okay. And
I mean, I went back during the course of this year during the program. I actually left for about 3 weeks to be able to go back to the States, to take care of things that I need to take care of and stuff like that. But I don't consider, for me, that was a vacation there. It wasn't that I went back to live there, because gotcha. I was still part of this program. Like when I went to the heads of the program and I said, look, I want to, I want to take off 3 weeks to go to America because I'm going to be joining the army in the summer. They're like, okay, no problem. It wasn't gotcha. That they didn't fight me on that either because they understood that I was coming back.
Okay. So,
and they already had my money anyway. So
I want to fast forward a smidge.
Okay.
I want to fast forward to your compulsory military service.
Sure. So, basically in the summer of 1993, in July 1993, I was conscripted. After having to go through many, many tests over the course of a few months beforehand and stuff like that, both physical and mental and things like that. Medical.
Is there any hesitation? I mean, you're 18, you're 19. Like that. You're a baby still, right?
No hesitation whatsoever.
Okay. All right.
No, and again, I mean, you see what I look like. I was never in great shape, So I'm not going to say that I was.
I may look like I'm in great shape, but I've never been in great shape either.
No, but I'm saying. Okay, that's true. Yeah, I'll give you that one. But yeah. you understand my point here. That I knew that physically it was going to be difficult on me. I knew that, okay. But it was still important to me to be able to do this.
It was worth it.
Oh, completely worth it. And because medically there were no problems, I was given. I guess you can say. I was the highest medical level that you could be.
Okay.
Meaning that I could go to any unit that I wanted to. As to get in. There are certain units. There's certain units that you can volunteer for. There's certain units you have to do special tests for and stuff like that. But to get into the most I guess elite type of unit that you can get into without having to do extra tests is a regular infantry unit. And that's what it is. And that's what I said I wanted to do, and that's what I volunteered to do.
Okay.
Okay. So in the platoon that I was in, we were about approximately 30, 35 guys. There were 10 of us that were from abroad.
Okay. Is that, I mean, I obviously you were only in that platoon, but is that, I don't know. To me, that seems like a very high number. Is that average? Like, do you,
Well,
I mean, you've
for,
talked
for
to
the
other,
type of well, again, this is based on the program that we were part of. You know, we're
Okay.
part of, we went in with the guys, with the Israelis that are in that 5-year program. So
Okay.
people that are going in that 5-year program, there are always,
people from
foreigners
abroad and okay.
that did similar programs to what I did that will, that will also want to join in.
Okay.
And so in our unit, in our infantry unit, there were 10. There was another infantry unit that there was probably another 10, and there was a tank unit that had another 10. I mean, there are many more foreigners that volunteer than one would expect.
Okay.
Because again, it goes to ideology and things like that. That's what it comes down to. I mean, and the foreigners we had one guy from Italy that was with us, one guy from France, one guy from Switzerland, and then we were, I think, 4 Americans and 3 Canadians, or maybe it was vice versa. Maybe it was 3 and 4. I don't remember offhand right now.
So
I had we had the English also as opposed to the Hebrew.
So when you're in the Army,
yes,
and doing this studying, you're probably you're taken care of as far as room and board, or do you need an additional job at this point?
Wait a second. When I'm in the program, or when I'm in the Army?
When you're in the Army, you're taken care of.
When you're in the Army, basically, because I was a foreigner, I got a stipend to be able to pay for to stay somewhere. So I actually got an apartment with 2 other friends. One of them that had done the same program a year before.
Okay.
So, and then someone else who was in the program with me at the time. So basically, my friend from the year before had his own apartment basically all week, except for when, we came home for, in between training. For him, it was the best deal because we split all the utilities 3 ways and all that stuff. But basically the way that it came, the way that it worked was that I had a stipend that was willing to pay for room and board. Oh, room.
Okay.
But again, this is only when I was going home. When you're on the base, you don't have a problem with room and board. That type of thing.
So, during this time, do you have a play? I mean, again, you're young. I don't know how foresight you are at that age. Like, do you know what happens? Should you get out? Like, do you know what happens?
Should you get out? When you get out?
Well, when but when your service is over, like, do you have a plan? Because obviously the military service is part of the emigration process. So like when you're
yes
done,
and no. Yes and no, because the program that I did was for foreigners. I hadn't yet immigrated officially.
Okay.
So
when does that happen?
My program was only for a year and a half.
Okay.
I didn't have to do the 3 full years of compulsory Army service because of that.
Okay.
That was part of the reason. So the plan after that is okay, I'll finish it and I'll see what I'm going to do.
Okay.
My parents obviously the whole time kept saying to me, well, you need to make sure that you go to college and you study and you get a degree. And I was like, yeah, we'll see. Who knows? I'll decide afterwards what I'm going to do. First I'm going to deal with what I'm dealing with now, and then I'll deal with the rest later.
That's a young person's game, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Okay. So
and that works for me actually. So,
okay.
I didn't need to think ahead at that point.
All right.
Because thinking ahead isn't going to do me any good anyway.
Yeah. That's so
you got to make it out alive first.
When you get out and I want to fast forward. You get out. You establish yourself living in this new country. It's relatively new. You've been there a couple of years now, but like you've only you felt home from the moment you landed the first time. So what is it like exploring your ancestral / new homeland once you're there?
I loved it because again, I could go anywhere I want, travel anywhere I want, check out things, I mean, I was living in Jerusalem at the time, so I got to know Jerusalem really, really well. It became second nature to me.
All right. What about the rest of the country, as far as the north, the south, the beaches, east and west?
I was traveling all over the place.
Okay. And
so when I could,
yeah,
because obviously I needed to start finding, a way to make a living.
Yeah. But when you're not doing that, you're not sitting still. You're not just going home like to your apartment. You're still out to see more of this place.
Well, yes and no. You know me. I'm a movie and TV person, so I can't be on the road all the time.
That's fair. That's fair.
I have to have time to sit and watch movies. Come on.
That's fair.
Even
fair.
Back then.
So I did want to ask though, like, I'm amazed by your story, one, because I don't know that I've ever felt that way about a place.
Come back.
And two, I'm always, and I've said this before, I'm envious of those in more belief than I have. My relationship with Judaism is what I won't say unique. It's all, obviously everybody's relationship to their religion is unique to themselves, but I feel like I've met a lot of people who are spiritually without practicing religious.
Okay.
Which is what I would describe myself as. But I'm always envious of people who are not only spiritually, but practically religious. Because it always feels like you're more committed. I just haven't figured out how to take that step.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For being in Israel for an extended period of time, let's fast forward 5-10 years. Did it change your Judaism at all, or your belief?
Did it change my belief?
Because again,
I understand the question. I'm trying to think of I think it helped strengthen it because when you're able to physically stand in places that you've read about.
Okay.
And so you're like, okay, well, this is my history. This is the building blocks of my religion. The building blocks of my beliefs. So, yeah, over the years, obviously, it's strengthened me.
Okay.
Would the same thing have happened if I was still in America? I don't know. That I couldn't tell you.
We'll have to
go to an alternate timeline to figure that one out.
Well, I'll say definitely not to the same extent. I mean, because
not necessarily.
Even in my 4 months, standing in that's the one piece of what I will call like the Jerusalem effect. And I think it because it is the Mecca for multiple religions, you can't put a price or a value on being there.
Okay.
And being in those places as they're written about. It's just not the same. And you can't not be you can't not be moved. Like it's just to some extent. Like my grandmother, for example, not the most religious. My grandfather was Orthodox. My grandmother was meh. Like I feel like that's that on the scale. My grandfather's Orthodox, my grandmother's meh, whatever. But when she went, she would talk about it changing her.
Okay.
And I think it changed me. No one's quite. I don't know how yet.
All right. Well, you still got time. It's only been 24 years.
It's only been 24 years. I got plenty of time to figure it out.
Yeah, of course.
But I did want to ask, you chose to start a podcast.
Yes.
Why? because and I asked this because like I finally
podcast or why a
yeah
podcast
why
at
that
all?
podcast? No, I think it's the why that podcast. I know you like movies, but like you could have done a religious podcast. You could have done an Israel from. I mean, you're an insider now, but like and there are many stories you have to tell. I think both of these episodes, kind of. I have an idealized version of your story specifically, but there are more stories we've glossed over and skipped over, and
yeah,
I'm only getting a surface of this. You have all these stories. You don't get to share them when you're talking about Die Hard or It's a Wonderful Life necessarily.
No.
I guess why not? Like, why focus on the movies instead of the personal?
Okay. There's two answers to that one. So first of all, I mean, I started 11 years ago my website where I was starting to review movies.
Okay.
Where the story in a nutshell of how that started was a friend of mine sent me a blog post that a friend of his had done, talking about the fact that he had to get rid of all of his videotapes because he had like rooms full of videotapes. And, this was, in 2013 or 2012, and so his he had to, I don't remember if it was his girlfriend at the time or whatever. He needed to get rid of them. So he basically wrote a whole post about it. And he talked about the fact in that post that he keeps track of every movie that he watches and every movie that he goes to in the theater. Okay. And I'm actually still, I became friends with this guy ever since. He still refuses to come on my podcast because he doesn't have time, but whatever. I still always give him the credit because he started me on my blog, but it just gave me an idea. I said, well, I'm watching movies all the time. Why don't I give off to other people, my knowledge of movies about whether I recommend or not recommend movies that I'm watching already. So that's what started the podcast, and that's what started the
blog.
The blog. And I've been doing that blog now for 11 years, and depending on when this drops, I have 11,300 movie reviews on there. When if you want to talk about just the unique ones, so I have 9,339 unique movies that I've reviewed during that time. So it's pretty prolific from that perspective.
I would say prolific is a not net. I don't know if that's a big enough word, but we'll go with prolific.
Yes. And again, if you take into consideration, then I have 2,000 movies that I've watched over and over during the course of those years where I've done reviews of them also. So I continue to do that. And through that blog, I became friends with a lot of people in the blogosphere who have movie review websites. And I even became part of an online organization called the LAM, which is the largest association of movie blogs.
Okay.
And I became really good friends with the person who is in charge of it, Jake Lewitt. And he, a few years ago, started telling me about the fact that he's constantly listening to this podcast called the Star Wars Minute. Right. And okay, it was intriguing, the idea of listening to, an analysis of a movie minute by minute. Even I thought it was crazy at the time. And I said, okay. And I started listening to episodes here and there. And, if it's a movie that you've seen and you enjoy, then it's actually fascinating listening to people discuss it, and
it's the joy of being on your show and listening to your show is that I was as skeptical as everyone else going in. Like, what? Like,
exactly.
What could you possibly say about 1 minute of film?
That's right.
Well, yeah. And look, I hit cleanup for most of your seasons, so I get the benefit of talking about the whole
Everything.
show.
Yes.
But I've done others since then, and it still there's a lot to go on in just 1 minute of film.
That's correct.
When you break it down, it's unique. Yeah.
So through the Lamb over the few years before I started, my own blog, my own podcast. So I was a guest on their show all the time, and we talk about movies and a whole bunch of different things. And I always enjoyed it. It was just so much fun talking about movies to other people. Sometimes having conversations, most of the time having conversations with other people who also are fans of the movie, or sometimes not. And you have nice debates and things like that. And for years after Jay told me that he, was listening to the Star Wars Minute and that he himself was getting ready to start his own for the Deep Blue Sea movie from 1999. And he kept saying, you got to do this. You got to do this. And I was like, nah, I don't have time for it. I'm not going to be able to do it. Familial commitments are not going to make it easy and stuff like that. And I kept pushing it off. And I, at one point, came to a realization that, where this whole thing comes from, you wanted to know how it's connected and why I'm not using why I'm not using this forum, to talk about myself or my Judaism. So I came to the realization that, have you ever, you probably haven't studied, but have you ever heard how things are done in the Talmud?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, the Talmud is a movies by minute podcast.
I get. You know what?
And
now that you say that, that makes a lot more sense. But yeah, I could see that. That's
and as much as I enjoy studying Talmud, I obviously still enjoy movies a little bit more. And I have more to say about movies. So I figured that, when I finally, I guess you could say, broke down and decided I was going to do one of my own, it was, okay, I have what to say. And like when I listen to any podcast, whether it's your podcast or someone else's, I want to listen to a podcast because they have something interesting and unique to say. Not that someone's rehashing the same things that other people have to say. So, this goes back to what we were talking about in the first episode when we were talking about this, is that, it's not my job in the world to convince you, Agent Palmer, that you need to be a better Jew.
Yeah.
Okay. But I can give you insights into movies, and you might be a little bit more open to the fact of taking that information in. And I look at it from another perspective also, that in some ways I'm also I'm doing PR for Israelis and Jews by doing this podcast, because I have become friends and I've been connected to so many different people from all the spectrums of religious affiliations, and also all around the globe through this, whether people are my guests or not. And, every one of them, I've never hidden the fact that I'm Jewish. I've never hidden the fact that I'm living in Israel. I've never hidden the fact that people that on Shabbat I will not be able to record, and I've kept to that, adamantly, because that's my beliefs from that.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe, again, I know we don't want to get into politics and current events, but you wouldn't believe how many people that I've become friends with have sent me emails over the last 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, depending on when this when this gets released, asking me if I'm okay, is my family okay, or
I'm one of them.
I know you are. I'm aware of it. But I've had a Catholic priest send me an email about that, asking me about that. I'm not comparing you to a Catholic priest, but
no, but I will say though, you did open my eyes to something, because I had told you, I think it was when we recorded, but for It's a Wonderful Life, I had said I was thinking about reaching out and I didn't, and you said, well, just do it. And I've kind of taken that to heart since then. And I now, for better or worse, and sometimes I reach out to you because it's the worst of what I read in the news.
It's the worst, but you still are looking for, you want to make sure that a virtual friend of yours is okay.
And that's but that's
and there's the connection. Again, there's the connection between that, because again, you as a Jew, okay, most of my guests are not Jewish and they know nothing about Judaism, and I'm assuming that most of them have never even met a Jew in their life. Okay, besides me, and again, not necessarily in person.
Yeah.
So for them to see that something happened in Israel and get in touch with me and ask, are you okay? What's going on? And stuff like that. So it obviously warms my heart. And it also shows that, okay, here I've made a connection on a completely different level than I ever expected that I would be able to do. I mean, look at the, the global, the global arena.
No, I get that. And I think it's made me, I've since that conversation, not only do I reach out to you a little bit more often, but I reach out to other people more often. And it's just like the moment I'm thinking of somebody, look, it takes less than 30 seconds to go, hey, I hope you're doing okay. Like, and so I don't waste the thoughts anymore.
Correct.
Waste the thoughts. And I think that's the point. And I learned that from you because now
I taught you something too.
There you go. Because
I be taught.
Whether it's texts or emails, it's 30 seconds. Hey, right. I was thinking about you. Hope you're doing well, or whatever. Yeah,
that's right.
I owe that to you because you were like, you literally, like, you called me out on it. It was just some pre-show stuff, and you're like, well, why didn't you?
Exactly.
And it was like, I don't have a good answer for that.
No, so the question is, why would you have been afraid? Because were you afraid to get an answer of me saying, screw you, I don't want to talk to you about it? Yeah. Or were you afraid of the fact that I would tell you that things are terrible or whatever it is? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you're trying to keep yourself insulated from having to hear bad news. I don't know.
I don't either, but I'm now taking that to heart more.
And I appreciate that. That's a good thing. See, sometimes it backfires on me though, when I do that. And I'm not trying to say this to discourage you, but sometimes I will write to a friend that I haven't written to in a long time, and I'll say, what's going on? Hope everything's okay by you. And they'll write back to me and say, yeah, everything's fine. Why are you getting in touch with me? Like, what's going on? You need to get in touch with me.
What did I miss?
Is there something behind, behind this? But then, I have other friends that are so happy. And they're like, wow, I'm so glad that you reached out to me. It's been a while since we talked,
So there you have it. Reach out to people, let them know you're thinking about them, like actually do it. I've been doing it since this was recorded. It's stupid how that one little change has transformed my email inbox. It was just updates, newsletters, and notifications, and now on occasion, it's a genuine communication. I've reached out to friends and former guests, acquaintances, anyone who I happen to be thinking of because it's just that easy to do. It's not something that has to require a lot of time, though you can put as much time or as little into the communication as you wish. But this is the humanity that seems to get lost in the internet shuffle. The internet was supposed to connect us, as it has for Rob and I, it has for me and many others, and I encourage you to continue to use this tool for communication and connection. Back in the late 1980s, AT&T had a tagline, reach out and touch someone. Well, we should all strive to bring that back, shouldn't we? It shouldn't be reach out and troll someone or reach out and flex on someone. It should be that someone is genuinely touched that you took the time. And that's exactly the spirit we need, perhaps now more than ever. So reach out to someone. Use your email for genuine communication. You won't be sad you did. Thanks for listening to the Palmer Files, episode 125. And now for the official business. The Palmer Files releases every 2 weeks on Tuesdays. If you're still listening, I encourage you to join the discussion. You can find all related ways to contact Rob and myself in the show notes. There you will find links to Rob's relevant social channels, podcast, and prolific website. The music for this episode was provided by Henno Heiter. Email can be sent to this show at thepalmerfiles@gmail.com. And remember, your home for all things Agent Palmer is agentpalmer.com. All right, Rob, do you have one final question for me?
Yes, I do. And this is a question that I've been meaning to ask you for a very long time. Now, I've listened to all your shows, and I went back and the first, I think, like 40 episodes or something like that I binged over the course of a few weeks, if I remember correctly. And I always adamantly listened to everything that you said. And one of the things that whenever you would talk about your Judaism, there was always something that you said that hit me. And you talked about the fact that, you need to find somebody at some point in your life who will help, I guess, shine the light on you, to help you, I guess, I don't know if the word is being more comfortable with your Judaism, or just, figuring out where it is that you want to go with your Judaism. And so my question, and I know that you also, you've had on your show, rabbi, at least one rabbi. I think it was only one rabbi. Yeah.
One rabbi.
That's right. So the question is, as of today, because again, these, you talked about this years ago. So the question is, as of today, is there something that you believe that you need in order to, I guess, move deeper into your Judaism? And is there anything I can do to help with that?
So I want to say no. Because my gut instinct is, tragedy is what turns people around. And I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to invite that, as I knock on wood, but I think it's,
but it doesn't need to be.
No, it doesn't need to be. And I also think it's similar to, when I was in Jerusalem, and it was the probably the most study I've done of not only biblical Judaism, but traditional and religious Judaism that I've ever undertaken, really. And part of it's being there and being open to it, but that being open to it part, I don't think was just because I was there. I think at that time in my life, I was questioning a lot of things.
Okay.
I think I need to get, for better or worse, I need to get back to a place where I'm questioning things. And I think I'm on the precipice, as we talk right now, of trying to figure out where I want to be. Which is, I don't know if it's different than where I am, because I don't know where I want to be. So maybe I've already arrived. Who knows?
Okay.
But I think that it is, it's probably, the second part was, is there anything you can do? I think just being friends is enough. And I only say that because, my parents have not lost faith. I won't say that, but none of the three of us are a part of a congregation. So we've lost the community aspect of Judaism, and some of that comes from moving around, admittedly, and some of it comes from really stupid shit with local congregations and rabbis coming in and out, and any number of things.
Okay, but you don't have a problem driving further.
Well, it's not it's not the driving further part. It's just, for some reason, I don't know. Look, it was either a really good rabbi or a really bad rabbi who said, it might have been a discussion somewhere along the way as well. I'm pretty sure it was with a rabbi, though. There was like, and I think this might have been when I was like 12. Because it would have been a camp rabbi, maybe. Because I asked a question about, like, I went to a Jewish summer camp where there were, I don't know, 4 chapels or 4 different places where you could potentially have a prayer, depending on the weather. Like, there was an outdoor one in the woods, there was an indoor one, there was an outdoor one that was in a field. It was a whole. But I think it got into a point where we got into a discussion of religious Judaism as and sanctuaries as a place of worship, and it was a thing of, like, not taking attendance and As long as you have a minyan, you can do it wherever you want.
That's right.
And you fast forward from that, which I learned at 10, maybe would have been that discussion, to my favorite rabbi, and the rabbi who I was bar mitzvahed by, and who helped me go to Israel, talking about the fact that even if you're not a part of a congregation and you're never a part of a minyan ever again, there will be times in your life when picking up a prayer book will be the right thing to do. And that may not be every Friday night, and it may not be every Saturday morning, but there will come a time when you will go, I'm ready for this. And that sticks with me in the back of my head. So when you ask this question, I don't know when that's going to be, but I feel like as I get older, I'm approaching that.
Okay.
Is it tomorrow, the next month, the next year, the next decade? I don't know, but it feels like I'm somehow growing into my Judaism. And I don't know any other way to state it other than, at some point I will pick it up. And look, I've, in the interest of full disclosure, after I'm in my mid-20s. I moved back. It's after college. I'm living with my parents again. I took it upon myself to build my own personal Shabbat service, for lack of a better term. Okay. I took what I had learned that made a service a service. The structure of the prayers that are optional, the prayers that are mandatory. And I built myself. I have to find it.
That was my next question. Do you have it? I would love to see that.
I have it somewhere. I do have it somewhere. In fact, I think I know where the folder is. But I built this service based on the guitar, basically, because we've turned the Reformed Jews have turned every prayer. From the most holy to the most frivolous into a song.
Not just the Reformed Jews. You have many. Okay. There are Orthodox that do it also. You don't necessarily need a guitar for it, though. That's the thing. I also can't use the guitar on Shabbat, so you can, but you can still sing. I mean, come on. As I'm sure on Shabbat meals, people sit around the table. Yep. They sing.
And they sing.
When you're in synagogue, there are a lot of songs that are sung. If you want, I can even send you YouTube videos that you can see of these songs if you're interested.
But I built a service for myself.
Okay.
And this was in my mid-20s, and I have since. And I wish I could bottle this up. There have since been Friday nights where I do pull it out and I run through the service. I built 3 of them. I built an 18-minute service, a 30-minute service, and a 1-hour service, depending on either how much time I had, what was going on, or whatever. And I think I also did a Havdalah service for ending it on Saturday night as well.
Excellent.
I don't know if I think I built one Saturday morning one that was about 25 minutes. Anyway, the point is I can get back. I should pull that out and get back to that. I think it's a start. I don't know. But I do know that.
You don't know what?
It's always on the periphery, and
you don't know if that's a start. It definitely is a start.
I think getting back, but getting back to it would be a start, because I feel like I've kind of been in this limbo where it's just been in a folder for a while. Like I haven't pulled it out in a while. But I think that's a start. Reading some of the books in my house is a start. I do want to get back in touch with it for no other reason than Judaism is a religion that in my bones not only feels right to me, but feels predicated on the question of why, which is a central question in my life as a whole, because I'm never comfortable with just any answer or even a answer. And I think that's why we study.
Correct.
And it's why we keep reading that stuff over and over and over again. And it's because we're never satisfied with the knowledge.
Well,
we can always get more.
It always goes with the old joke, that whenever you ask a Jew a question, the response will be another question, because there aren't absolute answers to so many things.
Yeah. I feel like that I've probably been on this journey, like getting there. I think I'm much closer now than I ever was to getting back.
Well, the way that it works is that every day that you get older, you get closer to something. So you're getting closer anyway.